Hi, I'm Kay Johnson, and I'm co-host with Elizabeth Nelson of Off the Shelf Book Talk with Book Lovers. And I'm curious to find out, Betsy, what have you been reading?
Well, I just finished the new Ruth Ware book, The Turn of the Key.
Oh, you know, now Nana was reading that book.
That's my copy.
Way
and then
too
she was
creepy.
she's like, I finished it. I'm going to give it to Annette. Hi, Annette. So she's got my copy because I had finished it in like 2 days. And then I gave it to Nana, and Nana said she couldn't put it down.
It was so creepy.
Did you read it?
No, I can't read it.
Why not?
Too creepy.
Well, if you don't live in the middle of Scotland, out in the middle of nowhere, you're fine. Unlike me, who lives in a big house now out in the middle of nowhere, I was like, ooh, this is great.
But anytime you got creepy kids.
Yeah. So for people who aren't familiar with Ruth Ware's new book, it follows
What's the title?
The Turn of the Key, which is very interesting. And I'll get to that in a second. So the book follows, it's a woman who is writing letters who's in prison accused of murdering a child. So she's in prison writing to this person she wants to take over her case. And I believe she's in Scotland. That's where the book is set. Don't ask me the name of the town. I don't know. And I'm not going to butcher it on television. So she goes out to take this job. And it's the parents own their own architectural firm and are traveling a lot, and so they need a live-in nanny to take care of their 3 children. And there's 4 children. One's away at boarding school, and then 2 are school age, and 1 is an infant. And so she moves into the house, and when she gets there, she finds out that within the last year they've had 4 nannies quit. And when she's getting ready to leave, one of the little girls comes up and hugs her, and she says, "Stay away, the ghosts won't like it if you come." So of course, she moves into this house.
Of course
she takes the job.
Of course.
And moves in, and when she gets there, she discovers that the house is actually a smart house. So everything is run on an app. So when she gets to the house has no front doorknob because you control it with the pads and open up. So except for one door in the whole house, there are no keyholes except for this one door in the back that you have to lock and put the key up out of the kids' reach. So that's why I thought it was interesting. Turn of the key, you have
no keys,
no doors, no doorknobs, no way to lock a door. And of course, as soon as she's there and the parents have left to go away for work, strange things start happening. Creaking floorboards, everything gets really cold, and also the system that runs the smart house starts doing things on its own.
Oh.
So there's a lot of twists and turns, a lot of different things that happen. So it does keep you guessing. This would probably be my second favorite Ruth Ware book. Okay. The Death of Miss Westaway is still my favorite, I think.
Okay.
But this one was really good, quick read. You can't put it down. There is especially, I looked it up online before I came today, and in my different book groups I'm part of, there are people that are torn. There are some people that think it's great. They kept right on going for it. Other people get to the end and they're like, no. That is just, you took it a step too far with a little package on a bow there. So, and then there was, at the end, Nana even called me and she goes, "So is this how it ended?" Or what exactly happened? So, I think you're going to have some people that'll figure out how it all wrapped up, and sometimes you're sort of like, wait. But so I think it might be a book that I might need to go back and read through again and see if there's anything else I can pick up on, just because I think that'd be interesting.
Because there could be.
Mm-hmm. But yes, creepy children warning. There are creepy children and creepy house. But I was in kind of that, I've been in kind of that horror type genre with this book, and then, my paper's upside down so I can't tell you the title. And then Kindle Unlimited has had a bunch of, there's a writer, her name, I think it's a she, it might be a he, Darcy Coates, and they do short stories that are more kind of Lovecraftian horror type books. So the one I just finished was called The Haunting at the Gillespie House. And so this is another woman going to a house in the middle of nowhere. There's a theme here with all these things. Somebody going into the middle of especially with Darcy's books, there's somebody going out to a building in the middle of nowhere, and then strange things happen. And this is the same kind of thing. A girl had gone missing from the house, and so the family couldn't stay there, and so they went away, and she's staying. And then when she's in the house, strange things start happening. Again, the tapping on the walls, the creepy voices. But this was a short story that I went through quick, and then there was another one I read too, but I think it was I can't remember the title of it, but it was the same kind of.
So do you like your Kindle Unlimited membership?
I do. I cheat. And I only really use Kindle Unlimited when Amazon offers it for free for 3 months. So they recently had Prime Days, and so you could sign up for 3 months and get it for free. So I did that again, just because part of me thinks I won't use it as much as I think I will. And so far I haven't. So I don't want to make that monetary commitment.
Well, it's $10 a month.
It is.
And I always have 10 books.
Well, I have 4 shelves and a bookcase full of books that I own that I have not read. It is its own separate bookcase, apart from the 2 bookcases of books that I have read. So every time I say, oh, I think I might get this book, Tom now points to the bookcase and says, you have no room.
Well, and isn't that a cheery thought?
Well, and then that's when I want to go downstairs and look at the Magic cards, the Magic the Gathering cards, and go, you also have no room. But to each his own. We're different sorts of nerds.
That's right.
And our son has no hope for not being one at this point.
You never know. He might turn into like a super athlete or something.
Oh, don't wish that on me. If he wants to be an athlete, that's fine, but at least let it be a sport I know something about. What have you been reading?
What else have I read? I finished a book by a gal named Karen Menuhin, Menuhin. And this is her 3rd book in the Lennox series, Major Lennox. And he was in World War I, and his butler, Greg, was his Batman. And so they get out, and he's
I'm picturing him running around in like an Adam West costume.
No, he's just sort of his assistant. When you're rich, you have assistants, apparently. And but Lennox comes back, and he's sort of, I think he suffers from post-traumatic stress, and he's sort of a loner, and he's titled, but he doesn't really have any money. But he's got rich friends. And so the first book that I got through Kindle Unlimited was the first one was The Murder at Melrose Court. And that introduced you to Lennox. And Lennox is going to, I believe, a friend's house for a wedding or something. And someone tries to kill his friend, and they all think Lennox is behind it. And of course, he isn't. He's sort of a screw-up. And so poor Lennox ends up solving the case, and he ends up kind of meeting the chief inspector from who's investigating it. And so then the second book, which is the Black Cat Murders, brings these people back together. And the chief inspector from falls in love with Lennox kind of has his eye on this girl, but the inspector kind of moves in and ends up getting engaged, and then they end up getting married. And so the inspector quits Scotland Yard and goes with his wife to live at Braeburn Castle. And this is someplace in the Scottish Highlands, and the place is falling down, and so he's...
As they tend to be in books.
So Swift is trying to restore order to this crazy place.
Yeah.
Well, he finds a skeleton in the wall that he's taking apart. So, of course, he sends an SOS to Lennox that Lennox needs to come because they need to figure this out. Well, Lennox makes Greg, his butler, go with him, and Greg wants nothing to do with it. He hates Scotland. He hates the weather, and he's sort of down in his dumps, though, because he was in a musical, and I think they told him he couldn't sing or something. And so Lennox drags him along, and they're staying in the castle in one of the towers, but but it's a good book, and I don't know if they're available as books, or I've got them as ebooks. So,
Okay.
but they're really good. But the fourth one, they end up going to Damascus, Jordan. So it's potentially one of those Middle Eastern books that I might have to reconsider, but we'll see. But anyway, so those are good. And again, it's a Lennox series by Karen Menuhin, Menuhin.
Okay.
And then,
Well, if we're going to stay on the topic of Jordan, because it's a segue for my book. So I finished this one called The Confusion of Languages. It's, I'm not even going to try to pronounce the first name because I know it's not, it's Irish and it's not spelled the way it's pronounced. The last name is Fallon. Matt will put a picture up and you can see the name. Because he's nice like that. Thank you, Matt. So anyway, this book follows two women who their husbands work for the U.S. Embassy in Jordan. And at the beginning of the book, the women are out with, I think they went to a park or somewhere, and they're in a car accident. And when you're an American in the Jordan, it's pretty much always figured that the accidents are your fault. And so you have to go to the police station and pay what is it called?
Fine.
Yeah, but you have to pay something. There's an actual title for it, but I can't remember what it is. So she has to go in and pay this. And so she asks the other woman to stay and watch her son while she goes to the police station. And then so she's watching this, the other woman is watching the son and is waiting and waiting and waiting, and this woman doesn't come back. And so while she's waiting for her to come back in her apartment, the book flashes back to when this family first came to the Jordan and how they became friends. And there was an event that happened that it's leading up to that's going to explain kind of what happened after, or that led to this big disappearance, I guess. The catalyst of all the fun stuff going on in this book. So the lady that goes missing has kept a journal explaining everything about her time there. And so it very much focuses on, well, I'm trying to figure out the best way to cut this part out. My brain just died. So, there's it's Muslim, Islam heavy country. And so there are, of course, different rules to how you behave. And the new woman was not very good at following those rules. And it sort of shows how if you try to change certain things and you don't do what you're told, the consequences that follow. So it's not a happy book.
Doesn't sound like it.
I thought it was going to be more of maybe like a thriller type book, who goes missing. I was like, oh, well, then they're going to go find her and it'll be this. And it is not that sort of book. So
did you finish it?
I did finish it because I wanted to kind of know what happened. And it was kind of a too bad ending. You're kind of like, oh, because you can see how, if X, Y, or Z would have been done, it could have changed how the entire book finished or wrapped up. So
you're glad you read it?
It's a book I've read. It's not one that I've had a lot of buzz that people have talked about it. I think it was on my to be read list, and that's why I picked it. Was on a cheap table, and so I picked it up, and it had been on my to be read list. So I read through it, and I'm guessing that the podcast I listened to, the What Should I Read Next, they must have talked about it on there, because I can only think that's the only thing I listen to for book recommendations besides you, and I don't remember you suggesting this book.
No, I would not. So. I tend to be a lightweight when it comes to books.
Yes, so I mean, it's very interested. If it's an area in the world that you're interested in and want to maybe learn a little bit more about, it would be interesting, but that's where I'll leave it.
Well, on that note, let's talk about something more fun.
I was going to say we can move out of the Jordan now.
Well, let's talk about Freddie Pilkington Soames.
gosh.
Man about town and newspaper reporter. Freddie is the creation of a woman named Clara Benson.
I love Freddie already. I can imagine.
I love Freddie.
He just popped fully formed into my head, dressed up as like a fop with like a brightly colored outfit.
Well, this is like the 20s, and he's rich and he's good looking, and he's sort of a, he's man about town, doesn't really amount to much. He's sort of like Lennox to a degree, But his mother takes a job as a reporter, a society reporter. She thinks he should get a job as a reporter. Well, in one of the books, Clara Benson did a series with, and I can't think of her protagonist, this woman, but Freddie's in one of those books, and he shows up, and he's there for the weekend, and he's telling her that he doesn't get up before 10, and he's not going to cover anything except serious murder. And he's got all these rules that basically he's never going to work.
Yeah.
But then Freddie somehow discovers he's got the ability to solve crimes. And so there's 5 books in the series, and the last one is The Case of Suicide in St. James.
Okay.
And it's pretty good because this guy commits suicide in basically what's a locked room mystery. And Freddie, in order to get into the room, Freddie has to go up the fire escape and break in, and then they've got to figure this out. And Freddie, of course, figures it out. And at one point, he's almost, you think, working for MI6, the Secret Service. But Freddie, and women like Freddie.
Oh, of course.
But he's not all that interested in getting married. He's playing the field, our Freddie. And so he
kind of sounds like the male version of Mrs. Fisher from Mrs. Fisher's Mysteries.
Yeah, well, he's fun, and things happen to Freddie.
Oh, poor Freddie.
And Freddie always gets his man in the end, but he suffers, and his woman too. He tends to have, but she writes great books. She's got 10 in this. Marchment is a woman's name, her last name, but I don't remember her first name.
Okay. Well, we'll have to look that up and bring it back on.
Yeah, but they're good.
We'll
and
let you know on the next one.
Yeah, and I don't know if you can get them in hardcover. I think you can actually. I think you get the Freddie ones too in like paperback or something. But they are, again, her name is Clara Benson, and I really think she's a great writer.
Good.
And good mysteries, and she's like modern day. I mean, she's like lives in Texas, and she's writing about the 1920s England, which is sort of interesting.
Yeah.
And she does a good job.
Good.
So I was actually going to email her and say, hey, you're doing a great job. But so if you're looking for something fun, Freddie. Pilkington Soames. There's one of the books starts out where his mother has a dead body in her house, and she calls Freddie, and he has to get rid of the body. And the two of them are trying to haul this body down the street or something in the middle of the night. And neither one of them, between the two of them, they're just complete nitwits. And it is so funny. But on that note, anything more serious?
Well, I think 2 episodes ago I talked about I had gotten a copy of The Uninvited by Dorothy McCardle. I apologize if I ruined that name. Again, that's how it's spelled, so I'm pronouncing it phonetically. So this was the book about the brother and sister that buy a house up on a cliff, and it appears to be haunted. That was made into a movie 2 years after it was written in Hollywood, and so I finally read the book for the first time.
So is the book like the movie?
Parts of it are. Some of it differs a little bit. The name of some of the house is different. In the movie, it's Windwood, and in the book, it's Cliff End. But a lot of it is similar. They go into a lot more detail in some parts, and then there are, because it's Hollywood, you have to add some of those more, the big scenes with big things happening, and some of those aren't in the book. I mean, I thought it was really good. Definite differences, but I really enjoyed it. I read it really quickly when we were on vacation. I think it took me like a day.
Remember when Rebecca used to act out that?
Yes. We should have her on as a special guest, and she could do it for everybody.
She was like 2 or 3.
She was. I have the movie on DVD too, and I watch it all the time, but I really enjoyed it, just even for the differences. There's a sequel called The Unforeseen, which I now need to order and read. Either that, or I have to see if there's a chance that Nana still has a copy of it, and I'm going to steal it.
Is there a movie? Not?
The Unforeseen? I don't know about that one. I just know about The Uninvited, and that's again a movie that I grew up watching, and so I have to.
Sort of like Rebecca.
Yes.
Reminds you of Rebecca.
Yeah. Kind of that gothic, real feel kind of quality to it, and it is really interesting. But it was fun to see some of the differences, and some of it I felt kind of too bad that that's not the way it was portrayed in the movie.
Well, it's always that way.
It is true. I don't know why I thought it would be any. Why I wouldn't think
There's
it would be anything
forever
different.
hope when you read a book and think it's going to the big screen, and then remember when you read Harry Potter and then you saw the movie?
Yeah, the first two stick pretty close, but after that, it's sort of here's your script.
Good luck.
There was a meme I saw online, and it said that the one job that the best job to have in Hollywood would be the job of the book slapper. And you're there, so anytime the director or the writer says, we'll do it this way, you just walk up behind them and smack them with the book so that they don't change it.
That's true.
I was like, that would be a great job. You read the book, and then when they try to change anything, you just give them a quick tap, and they're like, no.
What I don't understand is hey, I'm Hollywood producer. Oh, look, here's a best-selling novel. I think I'm going to turn it into a movie. Why would I change it when it's been a best-selling novel?
Yeah, that's true.
Now all of a sudden, well, let's change the ending. And I don't like the characters, and let's have it take place here instead of there. Why?
Or when they're, I don't know. Or when they just change how it ends. That's always the best.
Why would you change the ending?
That did happen. There's a book, I think it was the Jane Austen book club. It's the only book that was made into a movie that I prefer the movie. Because the book ends depressing, and the movie, because it's a movie, ends happy.
Ah.
And I was like, I actually like this movie, this better than that one.
Yeah, it doesn't happen very often that you actually like the...
No. Or when they take, when they did the last Twilight book, they made it into 2 movies. And I remember they're saying, they're going to do 2 movies, and me going, there is not enough going on in this book that you need 2 movies.
Well,
to explain this to us.
They did the thing with Harry Potter, and it was sort of like, hello.
Yeah, but that's Harry Potter. You're making multi-millions. You're going to stretch out Harry Potter first. Harry Potter has his own world now at Universal.
Yes.
You can make bank on Harry for a long time.
That's true. That's true. You're right about that. Yeah, you can do a lot with Harry.
You can. He will take you far. She'll be cashing those checks for a long time.
Yes, she will be. That's true. That's true.
But I know that was the big thing on September 1st, all of the postings on Facebook where people were like, it's September 1st, the Hogwarts Express just left to go back to Hogwarts at whatever time it leaves the train station. My Facebook feed went with all these people sharing it. It was ridiculous. But people, you really get attached to books, and but with The Uninvited, I felt just as attached to the characters that I met in the books as I did to the ones that I've loved in the movie. So that was great.
Did they have the same names, like for the main characters? Oh, that's good.
Pamela and Roderick Fitzgerald and Stella. And I can't remember the name of the cook. Lizzie Flynn.
Okay.
Yes, and she had her cat. The only difference was that they didn't have their dog Bobby at the beginning like they do in the movie. Bobby came later on, and then he left right away. So he got scared off.
He just had a walk on.
He just had a 1-page wave, and he ran back out.
Oh, okay. So is there a book, The Ghost of Mrs. Muir?
Yes, there is. And I own it.
Do you?
I do. That is another one of my favorite black and white movies. And so when I found it was based on a book, I immediately had to go to Amazon, and I did order it, and it's on my it's on my to-be-read shelf in this corner of my house.
I think you should read that so we could talk about it next time.
We can.
Because
we could do a whole section on old black and white
movies. Jenny. Have you read Portrait of Jenny?
I haven't. That's, again, another one on my list.
Have you seen the movie?
Of course. What do you take me for?
Yeah, we've seen all the top 40 hits of 1940s.
Yep. That's what Tom always says. I know you loved movies, but I didn't realize they were all in black and white.
Well, it's hard to beat The Ghost of Mrs. Muir.
You can't really beat classic Hollywood.
No, they're the best.
Yeah. And do you guys have a favorite movie that got made into either was a book and then made into a movie, or any musical, anything like that? Let us know. You can find us on Facebook or shoot us an email at offtheshelfbooktalk@gmail.com. And we'll see you next time.